How you doing, YouTube family? Today is Saturday, May the 31st, 2025. It's your man Big D, and I'm back with another one. I want to thank all you good folk out there in YouTube land for continuing to show support to my son and I. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Well, family, I'm back with another video. And in this video, I will be reacting to a interview that Piers Morgan conducted with Suge Knight. And of course, we know that Suge Knight is incarcerated, and this interview was conducted telephonically. And family, this was a very, very interesting interview to say the least. And Suge basically had a lot to say as it applies to Tupac getting murdered, Biggie Smalls getting murdered, and also to what's going on with this whole P. Diddy trial. So let's go ahead and dive in, and I'll definitely add my commentary along the way.
A lot of crooked cops got involved in hip hop. Those same crooked cops I felt that cost me my freedom, cost Puffy his freedom for now, cost a lot of people bad situations. And I think that they cost the most biggest two rappers in hip hop history, Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, their life. Everybody points the finger at everyone, but it all comes back to the same authorities.
I mean, as you know, Suge, look, you mentioned Tupac there. Obviously, it was 1996. I mean, incredible to think it's nearly 30 years ago when he was shot and killed. You were alongside him in the car. Many people have speculated since that Diddy ordered that death of Tupac. Is that your belief?
Well, first of all, I got a bullet still today, a 45 bullet an inch to my skull. You can look at my medical records and see the x-rays and see it's in my skull. They didn't remove it because they said if it would have went another inch, either I'd have been a vegetable or dead. Now, as far as what they say Puffy did and didn't do, just the facts. The facts of the matter is this. It's a guy named Reggie Wright Jr. who was over security. He didn't work directly for Death Row, but he had a security company called Right Way Security, who did security for Death Row with off-duty police officers or guys with a CCW. Everybody knows when we go to a fight in Vegas, we're going to be at the Tyson fight, and we're going to be at my club they call Club 662. You can go to that club and you'll see Mary J. Blige perform, Jodeci performs, Tupac performs, Snoop and the Dogg Pound, Andre. I mean, unbelievable talent in one place. That night was going to be Run DMC East Coast night. Reggie Wright Jr. told the security they can't carry firearms. The sad thing about that, Pac hated Reggie Wright Jr., so he had fired him before any of that. I don't know the right date, but I'm quite sure it was. It's paperwork that shows it. But the crazy thing about that, it was a bodyguard named Frank Alexander. Pac hated Frank. He was cool at first, but towards the end, he hated Frank because Frank always wanted to get into pictures with Tupac. And Tupac was very militant, so he was like, man, I don't want a bodyguard taking pictures with me. How is he watching my back if he getting himself in the pictures? So I hired a guy named Michael Moore and told him to bring another off-duty police officer because they kept their gun and they was real aggressive by protecting Tupac. So on the way to the fight, Reggie Wright Jr. tell Michael Moore he can't carry his weapon when he's doing bodyguard work for Tupac. Michael Moore said, well, I'm going back to the hotel. If I can't carry my gun, I can't protect myself or Tupac. So I'm not going. So Reggie Wright Jr., who nicknamed that Pac gave him Pork Butt. So Pork Butt goes and says, Frank, you can go, but you can't bring your gun. Now, everyone knows you can't be a bodyguard without a gun. So after the fight, we were coming from the fight. Tupac got into it with another guy. It was a big fight. After that fight, after we stopped to a few places, we go to my house. I told Frank, I told all the security, I told everyone. Pac just beat up a well-known gang member. Send 4 or 5 guys extra to the house to escort Tupac to the club. Reggie Wright Jr. refused to send the security guys, refused to show up. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a murder for hire hit.
Family, how the hell are you providing security for Tupac, but you can't have a gun? That shit right there seems all types of suspicious. And there's little tidbits of clues that have came out over the years where realistically they should really reopen. I mean, not like lightly reopen this case, but they need to go ahead and reopen this case and do a deep dive into it. And really and truly, I think the FBI should investigate it because I think it's a lot more going on than what meets the eye. But man, family, this was a hell of an interview. So let's go ahead and keep listening.
We was blocked in. It was more than one shooter. Only person know the truth, the real truth, is me and Tupac. He's not there to tell it. Only person knows is myself. But Reggie Wright Jr. tried to change the whole story of the narrative, what actually happened, and he was not there. During that situation, Snoop, who everyone knew at the time, wanted Tupac dead. Snoop had a meeting with Daz, Corrupt, Nate Dogg, the Dog Pound. Said, we're not going to Vegas. This is their words, not mine. We're not going to Vegas because basically something's going to happen. Somebody's going to get killed, right? So Corrupt tells the story. Daz tells the story. Warren G tells the story. Now, what Daz says, when Snoop said that, I said, damn, we can't go to Vegas. We was going to get those niggas. They're already going to get got, basically. Corrupt tells the story and says, once he tells everybody they can't go to the fight and can't go to Vegas, turns around, Nate Dogg says, I'm going to go to Vegas. Then because I'm going to Vegas, I don't got to be around basically me and Pac. He said, as long as I ain't around them, I don't have to worry about getting shot or getting a stray bullet. That lets you know, premeditated plan.
So family, real quick, Tupac's murder case was reopened in 2023. As I said, not just lightly reopened, but basically, I mean, it was in my opinion not thoroughly investigated, lightly reopened, and at the end of it, what they got Keefe D, all because he was doing these damn podcasts and interviews and whatnot, basically self snitching. And to me, I feel like there is more to it than just Keefe D. I feel like that this whole thing with his murder, and not just him, but Biggie's too, it runs deep. And listen, it is all types of unseen forces that run these industries. And if you think that this was this man, these people lives being taken was just over some gang bullshit, and it just so happened Tupac beat up the wrong beat up the wrong gang member, whatnot. Listen, the conspiracy run deeper than that. That's just the surface of it. This shit runs deeper than that. So that's why I say, you know, until you really, really look into it, you just kind of okay. We got Keefe D, so case closed. But you really didn't get all. That's he just one small, minute piece of the puzzle. What about the grand scheme of things?
Warren G says when the fight was going on, he was watching at his house. Snoop came over to watch the fight. Snoop had a walkie-talkie. These walkie-talkies, he only got this walkie-talkie that I bought for security and the principal that security doing security with. And they worked on all the West Coast. So if you're an artist and you go into the mall or you going somewhere, they have a walkie-talkie, security have a walkie-talkie. If you're not going to an event with any of the security details, you don't have a walkie-talkie. Because I didn't buy that many because I wanted to be exclusive to hand them out who was needed. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so Snoop comes in, according to Warren G, and he got this big walkie-talkie. They start hearing the gunshots. When we getting shot, Snoop listening to it in real time. Pow, 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 all over the radio. That's when he tell him, hey, I got to go. They just killed Tupac and shot Suge. How would you know? Nobody said that on the radio. You just heard the shots. Now, Reggie Wright Jr. and Michael Moore in the car. They get on the radio, and they say, hey, got him. Another guy gets on the radio. They say they think he's a white guy or a lawyer. And they say, hey, don't talk on the walkie-talkies on the radio. Don't talk on the air. Right? So to move things forward, maybe, I don't know if it was 6 months or longer, however it was, since I've been in this prison right here. Somebody played that for me with Michael Moore said. So when I know that attorney David Kenner always says, you can be on your cell phone and people be talking like, hey, don't talk on your cell phone. Somebody listening. They recorded and you can't do that. They're listening to you. So I know that's his saying. So jokingly, I told David, I said, hey, was that you on the walkie-talkie? Because that's your line. Don't talk on the phone. Now you use one saying don't talk on the walkie-talkie. So that's being said, David Kenner goes and says, Suge, I never had a walkie-talkie. I would never have a walkie-talkie. Would I need one for it? Never. So I'm saying, wow, he's so bent out of shape, but I was joking about it, right? I said, you never had a walkie-talkie? He said, that's not me talking on the walkie-talkie. I never said he was talking on the walkie-talkie. So that raised red flags. Didn't think nothing much about it. So Kenner had sent some of my boxes and files to another attorney. And another attorney got them, right? At the time, he wanted the boxes back. That didn't make sense. So when we discovered a walkie-talkie in the boxes, nobody puts something in the box that they're going through the exact same way. So the walkie-talkie, my guess, probably was in one box. And when they looked at everything and reading through everything, and they was asking me about this walkie-talkie, they put it in another box. Kenner, a guy named Steve that works for Kenner, went and grabbed the boxes from another lawyer that has it. Went and stole the wrong boxes that the walkie-talkie was in, but we still got the walkie-talkie. I said, send me a picture of it. So on my tablet, they can send photos, so they sent me a photo of the walkie-talkie. It blew me away. One part of me, it made my blood boil. Another part of me, I just seen Tupac face flash all in my mind. I said, these motherfuckers is involved with the assassination. So I tell Kenner about it. I said, David Kenner, you said you didn't have a walkie-talkie. Now you had one. So after that, our relationship after 30-some years went cold. He went and told the judges. He started trying to pull off my case. He tried to sabotage my case. He did, and everything I'm telling you about is the proof.
So ultimately, Suge, look, it's fascinating stuff because I remember this all happening in real time. So it's fascinating just to hear you talk it all through in this way. It's like a sort of murder mystery episode. But ultimately, I've got two questions. Do you believe Diddy had anything to do with it? Because it sounds to me like you're more convinced that Snoop Dogg had more to do with it. Was Diddy involved at all, do you think? And if it wasn't him, then who do you think ultimately ordered that hit?
This is the thing. This is what I do know. I know Keefy D, who I've been knowing since little Pop Warner football. Keefy D says that Puffy and them approached them and gave them money. Keefy D says if he go to prison for, this is his words. Keefy D said if he go to prison for the Tupac murder, Reggie White Jr. gonna go to prison for Biggie's murder. So all these things going back and forth. You know, who knows what? Absolutely what? What we do know, money was paid out. What we do know, according to these guys, to the police, not the police are actually doing the investigation, the cricket cops. You got to remember.
Did you ever ask Diddy directly if he'd been involved?
Well, that question would be no. Since all this happened, I never had a situation to have a conversation with Puffy. Majority of the time, Puffy see me, he going out the back door or going down the street somewhere. Only time that I ever had a conversation with Puffy, and it wasn't even a real conversation, I was at the Roosevelt Hotel having dinner. Somebody came over to my table and said, Prince wants you to come watch his show right now. I said, Prince performing? I said, yeah. And Prince a real gangster. Prince, he liked the bullshit. So I go in, and they set me at a table with Puffy, Nas, a few other people. Prince playing his guitar, and he walked to the table and looked at me, looked at Puffy, and started laughing. You can tell he planned the whole thing.
Damn, that's crazy, family. So even back then, Prince was around all this shit, and he seen all the bullshit that was going on. He, look at the struggles that he went through with his label. Man, when I say the whole entertainment industry, whether it's music, whether it's movies or whatnot, man, you got dark forces that's definitely pushing agendas, and the main agenda is about the money. That's the main agenda in my opinion, but it's also about power too, and pushing a narrative.
I know. I lean over and tell Puffy a few words, and before I can finish my sentence, Puffy gets up, his people gets out, and they cover him with coats and run him out the hotel.
And what were the words you said to him before he ran?
You got a lot of explaining to do, rat mother. Well, I ain't gonna cuss on your show. I said you got a lot of explaining to convince me that you didn't have nothing to do what they said you did. So that's that. But you got to remember one thing. I'm not here to bring a person down in hip hop. The culture of hip hop is so important, and it was so powerful. It could have been done so great. But I still stand behind what I stand behind. I mean, these.
Yeah, but look, I'm going to come to Diddy's case, which I know you have a view about, where you think he should walk, and many people I interviewed Ray J who said the same thing. But obviously you've just revealed a very fascinating moment where you confront P. Diddy in a club when he's known as Puffy at the time, and you basically tell him he's got a lot of explaining to do about the murder of Tupac and the attempted murder of you. I mean, that's a dramatic encounter.
Yeah, and it's a big world, but it's a small circle. Ray J and Puffy was closer and closer. And Ray J tells a lot of stuff, and it's not up to me to tell the story because that's Ray J's story. But Ray J and Puffy definitely were lovers. Puffy allegedly gave him $10 million to, to an album. They never put one song of two brothers loving each other, or whatever it's supposed to be. It's just, to me, we have so much. If you look at all the bad things in hip hop, when it's all said and done, it comes from
just to be clear, what I think you just said, Suge, you just said that Diddy and Reggie were lovers. Is that what you said? Ray J.
I said Ray J and Puffy was lovers.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that well known?
Of course.
But ultimately, Suge, do you believe that Diddy and or Snoop Dogg were directly involved in that shooting?
I believe that I'm putting it to you like this. When you take Death Row, you take Bad Boy. Puffy and I was friends. When Puffy would come to LA, I could pick him up from the airport a lot of times. We'd hang out. If I do an event in New York, Puffy then came to my event and DJed the whole night for free. So you can't say we wasn't friends. But later on, right, people from Death Row and people from Bad Boy, regardless of their securities or not, they remain friends. And I didn't tell my people, you shouldn't. I'm quite sure Puffy didn't tell his people they shouldn't. I don't think. I'm not in his head. But I do know this. We was going to an event, the Soul Train Awards. When we was going to the Soul Train Awards, me and Pac was in one car. We had a bus and a whole bunch of more cars. It probably was 100 deep. But everybody had tickets. Reggie Wright Jr., who's head of security for us, called Bad Boy people and the police who's doing security for the Soul Train Awards and said, hey, only let Suge Knight and Tupac in because they got almost 100 guys with them. You don't want no problems. So eventually, our guys had to bust past the police. He wanted me and Tupac to go in there and fight all those guys by ourselves. They even pulled guns, right? But our guys came in, and that's what happened, right? When you look at that situation, and you look at it's a guy named Gene who does security for Puffy. I know what the recordings say, what people say, and what the proof is. What Reggie Wright Jr. says. By the way, I always say this because he liked me to call him Pork Butt because he happy about that because that's the name Pac gave him. What Pork Butt says is that Bad Boy guys called Reggie Wright Jr. to hire him to do security for Biggie and Puffy and them. I don't know what time it was. I was in county jail that Biggie got shot and later died. And I was trying to figure out why would they call Reggie Wright Jr. when he worked for us? And more importantly, why is Gene and Reggie Wright Jr., according to Reggie Wright Jr. own words, that they still friends? I know that Reggie Wright Sr. is higher up in the sheriff. I mean, he might have been a lieutenant.
Has anybody told you that Diddy was involved?
I'm not even throwing nobody in the bus, but
No, I'm not asking you to name them. I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you. I'm not saying. I'm not asking you for a name.
This is the thing. They said that. KPD said that. It's a chick says that. But at the same time, like I said before, this is what you got to really understand. They took Reggie Wright Sr., who's over the gang, you know Compton better than anyone, off the case basically, because they said his son was involved in assassination of Tupac and me and get shot. And Frank Alexander, in tears, told me that these people was all involved. And that's why he did not perform the way he wanted supposed to perform. And if you really look at the other situation, he got interviewed by the grand jury, Frank Alexander. And he lied to him at first. He said everything started over a chain, which is a lie. He says when we walk into the MGM, Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac chain. So the next second day he go to get interviewed, he said, I got to clear up something I lied the other day. He said, why'd you lie? He said, Reggie Wright Jr. told me to say that they tried to snatch Tupac's chain, which was a lie. My thing is,
do you think Suge,
you
you'll
can
ever...
tell that these police, the messed up area investigation there is to mess up purposely.
No, I hear you. I mean, do you think we're ever going to know for sure who was behind that assassination of Tupac and attempted assassination of you?
I'm quite sure we will find out because this is a few people who finally trying to get it right and tell that real story. And they've been going through a lot of times with that story because you had guys like Snoop and Reggie Wright Jr. and all these people calling these people trying to basically threaten them. It's an audio of Snoop Dogg basically admitting why Tupac's dead. He's admitting why he died. And my thing was, how would you know all this if you wasn't involved? And I could have been an asshole and released that audio. Releasing that audio would have put Snoop in prison for the rest of his life. That's how powerful it is.
What's happened to that audio?
So, what'd you say?
What has happened to that audio?
Oh, it's still there. But he's admitting the truth. And it's real sad the fact that even though Snoop didn't buy Death Row, he never purchased Death Row, he just registered the name to try to use the name of Death Row. And he can't show you paperwork, he can't show you the proof. But what he could show you the proof of, it's crazy about him, because one day he's talking about doing a gospel album and praise the Lord with a robe. The next day, he's trying to do songs regardless if he's talking about me and other people. I don't know which one he's ever going to get. It's two sides to the devil. One day he wearing blue fingernail polish on his hands and switching. The next day, he a Crip mascot. But what I do know is that it's real sad that Universal and Interscope will let this guy run around and speak on Death Row or Tupac or anything to help him promote stuff when they know his involvement with the assassination of Tupac. His own words put him in the cell. So It's so sad that when something comes out, these guys turn around and try to flood the media with different stuff, with different narratives. Reggie Wright Jr.
Let me ask you.
And his family,
let me ask you.
Say cops.
I hear you. Let me ask you directly now just about the Diddy trial, because you've said that you believe he should definitely walk, which is pretty extraordinary given what you've just been telling me about, Diddy's possible involvement in trying to kill you. But why do you think he should walk from this case?
Well, number one is this. To say he's part of a racketeering and make a case, they would have to put other executives in custody also, which they would never do. It's a guy named Jimmy Iovine. I consider him family. Been knowing him forever. Jimmy Iovine used to be a second engineer, and then he started working for Interscope, and I made that company. I built that company, me personally. And
So, family, listen, I'm gonna stop it right there because the video is getting long, but then I'm gonna drop part 2 and we can continue on because man, you gotta admit this one is this was a good one. Well, family, always remember, be more tomorrow than you were yesterday. Peace. And stay tuned for part 2.